Well, first of all, Alex, it was really good to hear at 5 o'clock last night that you become the permanent manager of Crewe, and you're in great company because Liverpool decided that they'd offer Jurgen Klopp a 2-year deal a minute after you were appointed at 5 o'clock. Just shows what you've got, the power you've got. Anyway, first of all, congratulations on becoming the permanent manager of Crewe. How does it feel, that little sound?
I'm honoured and privileged, Graham, of course I am, because this club doesn't appoint many managers, so when you are appointed, you've certainly got to take it as an honour because, as I say, there haven't been many before me compared to most other clubs, I'd imagine, because of the way that we do things here. And I'll work exceptionally hard, along with all the great staff that I've got alongside me, to make sure that the appointment is as successful as it possibly can be. We won't leave any stone unturned in terms of trying to ensure that we bring success back to the club, winning football, teams that are going to be competitive and play for the badge. All of those things are, on the list of priorities for us. We've made some progress in terms of trying to put in place the culture and the ideals and the philosophies that we want to carry forward. But obviously there's a lot of work to go on throughout the summer to ensure that we get to where we want to be when that first game's played at the back end of July.
You've had a 3-game sort of period to settle yourself down as the interim manager, but just for the supporters, and now that permanent is right by your name, what type of manager do you see yourself as?
Well, in terms of managing, I'm really lucky, and I realise that the staff around you are every bit as important, and I can't do my job as successfully as I want to do it unless I've got staff around me who are going to be of great support, and I've got skill sets that are obviously going to complement what I have, and I have that with Lee Bell, Kenny Lunt, John Dillon, Fred Barber and all the other staff. We've got some good recruitment people in place with Glyn and Josh as well. So I'm fully aware that the success of the club and how successful I am is entirely down to the support I have alongside me as well. Now it's up to me to ensure that I delegate people into the right roles, and we've already got that in place. So the background and the team around me obviously are already there to allow us to put things in place moving forward, and we're all looking forward to the challenge.
How important is it when you mention 1 or 2 names there that obviously your managerial career has been at the under-23 level mainly, that you haven't got that real experience at Football League level, but to have certain players in certain positions, certain people in certain positions, how key is that for you to move forward?
Oh, huge, because the things I'm not good at, that they're good at, and there's things that I might be good at, that they're not so good at, and you've got to make sure that the blend's there. And I'd like to think I know what all our skill sets are, and as I say, it's a case of putting people into their niche areas so that they can contribute towards the longer term success of the club. We've all been here a long time. I've been coaching for 20 years, and I'd like to think many of the credentials that you need to lead a football club and lead a team are there with me in terms of what I have, with my skill set. The one thing I haven't got is experience of managing, but how do you get that? You can only get that by doing it. And alongside, as I say, all the staff that are there with me, we have plenty of ideas in terms of how we're going to take the club forward as well as the team, because it's not just a team thing, it's a club thing, because you can't take the team forward unless all those things behind the scenes that go on from Monday to Friday that lead into a Saturday are in place. And as I say, we put plenty of those things into place over the last couple of weeks. Players have bought into it brilliantly, but there's so many other things that we're going to rubber stamp over the summer to ensure that we're in a good place moving into the new season.
You mentioned a few names. What have you learned from the masters? Dario Grady, Neil Bakers, Dave Ortells, Kenny Lunt, Steve Hollands, all people, great football people that have been at this football club. So when you were gradually growing up into where you are today, what are you taking from them?
How long's the interview going to last? You could go on forever. I've been really lucky and privileged, and I'm sure Lee and Kenny would say exactly the same, to have worked along Dario, Steve, Bakes, alongside those as well. James and Critch came obviously to the fore, so there's some fantastic football educators there who've had lots of success at this club and at other clubs when they've moved on, who we've taken lots from, and will utilise plenty of those things moving forward. Of course, in football, things move on, so whilst you will take everything that you've learnt from those great people, as the game becomes more modernised, you have to buy into new things as well, and it's a case of blending the two together to ensure that you get the right outcome at the end, and that's something that we'll endeavour to do.
Obviously, you've had ongoing talks with the chairman and certain board members as well, leading up to where you are. The budget, you know, you're not going to reveal exactly what it is, but it has been, you know, identified as going to be a competitive one for you. You're pleased with how the talks have gone and what you're going to be able to have the tools to work with next season? The
chairman and the board have been fantastic. Yeah, they're doing everything they possibly can to give us a foundation to work from. All the support systems that you could possibly ask for in terms of going into a new season are either there already or they're working towards them being there. So, you know, we can't be anything but complimentary towards Charles and the rest of the board in terms of what they're giving us from their perspective, and to ensure that we can do as much as we possibly can to ensure we have the right players coming into the club to join those that are going to remain there for the start of next season, so that we've got a competitive team who are going to play football the right way. We all have a way here where we want our football team to look the Crewe way, if you like, attractive football. It's never been any different here, so that we can gain some positive results next season. We can't put any sort of target in terms of where we're going to end up in the league yet. I think that would be dangerous to do that. What we can do is guarantee that we're going to work towards ensuring that this team does as well as it possibly can next season.
And of course, as you say, you've come in at a time when it's season end, but it never stops in football. And you'll be looking at already what you would like to have in and what numbers you're going to get, and obviously you'll have to say farewell to some players. Have you all sorted all that out yet, or is it still a few things to happen?
Some know, some don't. So some are aware of their situation going into the end of the season, and some aren't. That will all become clear and finalised after the Lincoln game. So yeah, some players are. Yeah, they've been filled in terms of where their future lies, and some haven't, so that's ongoing.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Chris Porter's situation?
I can, yeah. Chris hasn't been involved in the last 4 games because he'll be leaving the club at the end of the season. Spoke to Chris very early on when I came into the role, because I think he was owed he was owed that decision early, whichever way it was going to go. We've decided that Chris will leave because he wants to play regular football. The competitor he is, even at his age, he wants to play lots of football from the starting games. We couldn't guarantee that next year. It's certainly not a willingness to keep Chris at the club that stopped us from offering him a contract. It's been fair and honest and right to him in that we couldn't guarantee him how many starts he would get next year. And that's the reason he's not been involved the last 4 games, because we spoke to Chris and we felt it was right and honourable for him to not risk injury so that he could find a club ahead of next season, which I'm sure he'll have no problems in doing. So that was the reason why Chris hasn't played any part in the 3 games we've been in charge, and won't do on Saturday. He'll travel with the squad and be an important member of obviously ensuring that he's a good influence behind the scenes.
It is that final game, of course, at Lincoln. Is a temptation to experiment, to try a few things out, or is it firmly focused on trying to get 3 points?
Well, before we go on to that, Graham, what I just want to add with Chris is he's been a fan's favourite, and rightly so. He's been so important to us over the last 5 years. I think he's been with us. I've been in football a long time, and I don't think I've ever come across anybody who's as good a professional as him. And the fact that he's 38 years old, 20 years in the game, 650 appearances, whatever it may be, is testament to the type of professional he is, and not just on the pitch in terms of the way he carries himself off the pitch. There's many players that have come through the system here during his time and moved on, and a lot of them would probably say that he's been a great influence in terms of how they should live their lives in and around the training ground and away from the training ground. So his influence extends beyond the football pitch, and he'll be missed by the club, but he'll go on and play for 2 or 3 more years at least. I think he'll go into his 40s because of all those things that I've just outlined. So that's something that we really wanted to reference and acknowledge, because he's been great for us.
Yeah, I think the fans have seen that, and he's been leading goal scorer and done everything to help you get into, win promotion to League One. But that door will close, as you say. That was one door left open back to the weekend. Is it a temptation to sort of experiment, to have a little look at things, or is it firmly focused on it's 3 points on an away game?
We'll do both. We'll do both. We'll find a way to have a look at things that we want to integrate next season, like we have in the games that we've had previously. But ultimately, we want to be competitive and win the game. I really don't buy into you must play players that are exclusively going to be here next year, because is that going to have a great deal of influence in terms of when they play the first game next season? I don't think so. Well, we certainly don't think so. Whereas playing well, performing well, hopefully winning on Saturday will have an even greater effect and benefit on the group as a whole going into the off-season, because that confidence and momentum continues to build off the back of what's been some decent performances, patchy performances in spells, but by and large we've been pleased with in terms of how the players have competed against, in the case of Sheffield Wednesday and Ipswich, some big clubs as well. So it's a case of continuing to build that momentum of what we've been trying to produce.
You're well aware that football management is 24/7, there's no doubt about that. You don't need us to tell you that. You've been involved in the game for a long time. But when that final whistle has gone, what are the priorities? What happens next for Alex Morris and his managerial team?
What we'll do, we'll get together on Monday, all the management staff, to map out the key things going into the off-season. Players will have about 3 weeks off, and then they'll do some conditioning work here at the club twice a week, so that during the off-season they're still in good condition, and players generally, modern players, now look after themselves anyway. And then we'll move into the pre-season back end of June. It starts a little bit earlier this year, of course, because the season's a week ahead. And then we kick in with the training and the pre-season games that obviously filter into when we play, I think, on, is it July the 30th, the first game? Before August for the first time in a good while. So that's the plan. We'll continue to be in during the summer, working extremely hard with the recruitment team. Glyn, Josh and John Dillon's having a big say in that alongside his match analysis role, to ensure that we are making as much progress as quickly as we can in terms of getting some new bodies into the building as well.
How important is it for you as a new man to sort of build up these contacts? In terms of football, sometimes you need to call on favours of people that you know. Is that something that you're going to try and do, and put yourself out there to get a network of contacts that you can turn to if you need them? Yeah,
I mean, we've already got them, Graham. You don't need to have had contacts or develop contacts as soon as you become a manager. We're all in football, and I've been for a long, long time, so you don't have to have been a manager for many years to develop the contacts that we're going to need to speak to agents, speak to players, speak to advisors that represent the players that we're interested in. There's a lot of years football experience in the management staff. We may not be all in our 40s and 50s. We're heading towards that. But in terms of football experience, there's plenty of football experience across the board in the backroom team with all those names I've mentioned. And we all know plenty of people in the game. So we've got that ball rolling well and truly in terms of the recruitment side already.
Are you excited of the challenge that lies ahead?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. How couldn't you be? This is my club. It has been since I was 12 years old. Been here for 27 years, so I'll give my age away there. And it's the same with the other guys. I keep alluding to the backroom staff because it's not just me. It can't just be me, because I'm not skilled enough to manage everything around the club on my own. No manager at any club is, even Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp, like you touch on. It's a complete team effort. And I'm so lucky to have, obviously, great support staff around me in and around the building. As I say, the board of directors and the chairman has been equally as supportive. So it's going to be a team effort, and we're going to work extremely hard to ensure that we've got a competitive team next year that the supporters, first and foremost, are going to be proud of.